Hello and welcome along to another webinar on our Nurse Recruitment Secrets series. So excited to have you here to talk today about 5 AI use cases in nurse recruitment. And I'm privileged to be joined by my beautiful assistant and co-host today, Marbella. So if you get bored of watching me or listening to me, you can just look at her cute little face. I promised her that she could be on a webinar. She's been asking me for years, so here you go. And we've been a little bit quiet over the past year in terms of webinars. I haven't been releasing too many. Nurse recruitment experts, we kind of got a big contract in Oregon Department of Human Services, to recruit more nurses for their intellectual developmental disability sector, and that took up a lot of our time and focus and a few other contracts too. But we're back now, and I'm really dedicated to bringing the best knowledge and awareness to all nurse recruiters up and down the US, Canada, and even further afield, maybe in my own country, the UK, to help you hire more staff. So today, what we're going to look at are 5 actual use cases for AI in nurse recruitment. And I put the word actual in there because there's a lot of marketing fluff and buzzword usage out there. As soon as AI kind of became this revolutionary usable technology in 2023, when ChatGPT really hit the market, we've seen that a lot of companies feel pressure to adopt and to project they're utilizing AI, but when it comes to their actual value proposition and their solution, not so much. It can be used as something that you kind of have to say nowadays in order to win business. So I want to keep it really practical and show you simple things that you can do to utilize AI. And this is by no means comprehensive or exclusive. There's other sources out there if you want to understand how AI works, and if you're going to like generate your own AI, don't ask me. I just want to show you the things that I've seen work for nurse recruiters and hope that could work for you. So just put in the chat while we get started where you're joining from. I'd love to hear about your organization and why you're here. A couple of years ago, we did a webinar on AI, and I picked some of the photos that ChatGPT's DALL-E produced. And it's just amazing how freaky, scary, weird these photos were back then, and how much more realistic they look now. And I know that this is kind of clearly not a real photo, but if you compare like the previous iteration, it's like something from a horror film compared to photos that it's able to produce now. So the technology is moving fast, and we must move with it. Going to be talking about how you can understand the competition and yourself better, how you can attract talent, and how you can engage candidates and hire them, and then kind of work on your communication with hiring managers. And the reason I think that this webinar is important is when it comes to applying artificial intelligence, particularly generative artificial intelligence, which is what apps like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Claude, you might have heard of that, are. You put a prompt in and it comes out with content like a text, image, or video. I think it's important that you tie this to whatever problems you're facing as an organization, and that you don't just start with the technology and think, how can we shoehorn this into what we do? But you start with your problems and then see if there's anything out there that you could envisage as a solution. It might not be a solution, but it's crucial, I think, to start with the problem. So that's why I put in bold 5 problems that a lot of organizations face. So a big one that people face, number 1 there you can see, is understanding the competition and themselves. So what do I mean by that? Well, When it comes to understanding yourself, you need to know, why do nurses want to work with you? And why shouldn't they work with anyone else? So how can you attract staff, and how can you get better at being competitive in the market? It's all well and good existing in the market, but how do you actually, whenever a nurse is going to apply for a job and has 5 different options, how do you actually stand out and be the best of those 5? And AI can help you do this through research. So I'm going to show you on the screen, and if you're listening on the podcast, just envisage this, ChatGPT. And I'm going to tell you about a prompt that I put in. So when it comes to researching your organization, think about, how can I really pinpoint what we're struggling with and how competitors are beating us. And I'm not like the most creative when it comes to deciding what to tell ChatGPT. And if you give it a very basic request, it's going to give you quite a basic generic answer. What I like to do is say, like, here's my problems. Give me a prompt that will help you ask me the right question so that you can help me solve my problems. So I did that, and it gave me this prompt. I just picked a random hospital in a random place. If you're watching this, Idaho Falls, thank you. But yeah, this isn't about you or because I work with you, just needed a random hospital. I said, help me research our competition. So it told me what prompt that I should give it. If you look here, I've told it what we are and then the request. So research to identify biggest local competitors, utilize various review platforms, and then tell us how we can beat them from employer branding perspective. I think this is really useful for understanding your competition, your market, and just kind of getting one step ahead. I know all your competition can do this, but I guarantee you that they're not. And utilizing particularly the AI to go through broad platforms like Glassdoor or Google Reviews, or things that are kind of publicly accessible. I know they don't really have access to some of those APIs, but there is a lot out there which you can find. And then you see at the bottom it said, tell us how we can beat them from an employer branding perspective. So you can see here's my bit of my conversation. What I'm going to do is just put in a micro version of this prompt to show you what it comes up with. So let's say we are Idaho Falls Community Hospital. Give us a prompt to ask you how to research our competition and improve our employer brand. So it'll come up with the prompt, right? And then all I need to do is copy and paste that in and see what it produces. So let's do that now. And you see, it immediately came up with another hospital in Idaho Falls owned by HCA and several others. It's put their distance, and then it's talked about how they position themselves. So if we come down to, let's pick one, Eastern Idaho Regional Medical Center, large stable system, tuition reimbursement, national scale benefits via HCA. Then it looks at us. So we're locally owned. HCA is not locally owned. Talking about the real voices that we can use, and then the lifestyle and affordability, maybe to attract nurses in from afar. And you can see all these kind of good contextual messaging that it's providing that you can use to differentiate yourself from competition. So that's number one, utilizing it to research and get some ideas on how you can differentiate yourself. Number two, now, I don't think there's really an excuse if you're recruiting staff every day and that's your profession to not use and post on LinkedIn consistently. So the big gap up to this point has been, I think, creativity. Like, people wonder, what can I post? And it really is a barrier, even for me, like not knowing or not wanting to sort of, is not wanting to waste time thinking for like 30 minutes on something that nobody might see or engage with. And I think because recruiters are so busy, this is low on the list of priorities. But with AI, you can just automate this. And you can see a prompt here. It's, I'm a recruiter at wherever, give me 20 days worth of content to post this month. So if you're in leadership, you can tell your team, whatever generative AI tool you use this prompt and start posting more regularly. Like post 1 day a week, at least 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and just get like the content mill running. This kind of removes the excuses of creativity from it, I think. And I know that content's not going to be amazing. It's not going to be the most customized or developed content, but if you're doing it yourself, you either do no content, you try and you produce undeveloped content yourself, or you just get this to do it. And I am of the school that AI is diminishing our capacity to write and be creative. On the other side, from a business perspective and standpoint, getting this content out there is a negative. It's a gross profit rather than a negative. So it's something that once it's out there, people will start like noticing it. And if all your recruiters in your team, for example, are putting out content, it's another thing that'll get you ahead of the competition, because the competition aren't doing this at the moment. Number 3, so you can actually get a generative AI to make an action plan for a position that you've struggled to fill for a while. So for example, I picked up on Idaho Falls, website, this surgery ORRN clinical team lead opening. It's one of their highlight positions, and here you can see what they put for the job description. Now, I went back to ChatGPT and I said, again, give me a prompt to achieve this goal. And I just told them that we're struggling to fill this position. Give us a roadmap to doing it and give me the prompt so I can ask you in a better way. So it gave me this prompt. You can see there, research, competitors, tell me how to improve the JD, write a strong job ad, suggest content, and then propose other techniques. Make it as an actionable plan I can share with my team. Doing this, I think it helps give you a fresh perspective on your challenging positions. And you can go into, say, we've had this IC manager open for a month, look at what the competition are doing, tell us what we're doing wrong. And then it'll help you kind of refresh that campaign and come up with new ideas and an actionable plan. So actionable plans for long open positions, I think it can help you be creative with that too. Now, this one is my absolute favorite, and I think you're going to love this. This is about generating web pages in order to be engaging to candidates. So we all know, like, the more customized that you can be and the more one-to-one you can kind of communicate with the candidate, the better experience that has for that nurse, and the more they feel like you have them in mind, that you're taking a personalized approach to them, and you actually want them as a person, not just as another number. Now, previously, that has been quite difficult because it's very time intensive and it requires manpower hours of calling, texting, emailing, or just researching that person's background and being relevant to them. I've discovered ways to be more personal, even if it's on an individual job page, that is respectful of what that person does and speaks to them in a direct way. So look at this. This is the standard kind of sitemap or layout of a website in healthcare. So you have the hospital's website, and I'm going to walk you through Idaho Falls to communicate this. You have the hospital website, which is the main page for the hospital, and everyone that passes through the hospital website will come onto this page. Not all of them are seeking jobs, so you've got info about emergency department, ICU, paying your bills, etc., etc. Most organizations will have the careers page linked in the toolbar, like they do. And on this page, they have, well, they've got videos, they've got text talking about the opportunities, Some of sub pages. So if I wanted to learn about their health plans, I could click on the health plan page and it would tell me. If I wanted to learn about PTO, I could click on that and it would tell me. That's quite beneficial because it gives people more information on items that they're interested in. Then, if they want to apply to a position, usually, like here, they will have a link to their kind of job board page. This is often connected with the ATS. You can see here they've got the frame, the kind of on their website, they've got the scrollable kind of talent management software, whatever you call that, applicant track system that has job postings in it. And here, like, you can sort by newest, oldest, job title, and all that fun stuff. Then finally, if I click on a position, that will take me onto the jobs page for that individual position. So let's look at this one, surgical services supervisor. Now, the more, as I mentioned, the more customized and developed you can make this, the more engaged that nurses will be. If you don't have these pages, nursing page, benefits page, education page, I think you need to add them, because that's what people are expecting. They're expecting as much information as they can get. If you don't have a careers mini site, you're screwed. You need to add one, because again, they're not going to be able to make a decision on highly generalized information. I'm going to show you a website called lovable.dev that we've been utilizing to make web pages for individual jobs and individual tracts of job groups. So what is this lovable.dev all about? Well, on this website, you can give it a prompt, type in here, whatever, I want you to make a web page that ... and then it will go away and it will design and create that web page. So for example, here's one that we made for Idaho Falls float pool positions. And I'm going to describe it so that everyone listening on the podcast can understand. It's a web page, and on it, we've got the headline, float pool RN opportunity, key selling points, work when you want, multiple departments, career growth, and then a call to action to join the float pool team. This could link them to the job. So let's go back there. If they click that button, like, they can go on the job on the ATS creative page. Scroll down, you can see there's really information about the float pool RN opportunity, not just generalized about being a nurse at the organization. You've got 3 key selling points for why to join the float pool. See here, one says optimal flexibility, work when you want, where you're needed, diverse experience, career advancements, float pool experience highly valued everywhere. And then it says departments you work. I pasted this from the float pool position. So it's taken that information and made a web page about the float pool. How does this fit into the site? Well, whenever someone comes on to your careers mini site, you can have nursing page, of course, but you can also have jobs pages for each position. So this did it within like 60 seconds. I'm going to ask it to make one for ICU positions. Now, if I'm doing that, I'd probably want to be able to paste in all the information. So I'm going to roll back on that. Click stop. Make one for this surgical opening. Another page. So it's going to work away in the background and start working on a page just for that surgical opening. So I think this is quite a strong tool, and you can use it in different ways. So let's say that you are speaking to a candidate, they're interested, and they have some questions. Like, they want to know a little bit more about the benefits, the pay, PTO. You can come in here, you can take the information, which maybe is just a text form, a little bit boring, not very engaging, and you can make a web page focused just to them, which has their name on it, for just the things that they're interested in. You can click publish, and then you can send them the link to that web page. So this is really kind of revolutionizing design, revolutionizing web design. And it's a way, if you don't have a career site, you can absolutely create it on this and then plug it in. But it's a way to really expand, I think, the content that you have out there as an organization. The URLs can be linked to your website's domain, so it looks official and proper. And you can also give it brand guidelines so that everything is, on brand with your messaging. Now, downsides, well, this doesn't really live on your website, so it shouldn't be really part of that sitemap in a sense. It's not search engine optimized, and it's built on this platform, so it's not really within your kind of security field of your organization. But having said all that, that's not what it really should be used for. It shouldn't really be used for consistent traffic. It's more for individualized jobs or individualized conversations where you want to show someone really specific information that's specialized towards them. You can see that in the background, it said it's created the surgical page and then I can access it. So I'm going to refresh and go on to the surgical campaign page. And here you see that it's created it. Same format as the other one. It's got here, leader surgical team is a clinical team lead, RN or surgery. You'll play a crucial role, function as OR circulator. Now, when I compare that to this, which is, this is the only kind of job page that they have for this position, I think it's much more engaging, and it really sits in a place where you can tell the story in a more visual and exciting way than just the job page. So particularly useful for kind of tired positions, jobs that have been open for ages that you can't use. The website is lovable.dev, and if you want to ask me how to use this, happy to talk and walk you through it. Finally, we're getting to the end. The last point is simulating conversations with hiring managers. This is a big challenge for a lot of recruiters. How do you maintain and leverage a good relationship with hiring managers to make sure that they book interviews, assess candidates, and are open to hiring people with varied skill sets that you think are a good fit, that they don't just reject people because they don't like the cut of their jib, as we say where I'm from. They don't like their personality. Final use case, you can open a generative AI app, let's, for example, ChatGPT. And now keep things private here. Don't say like this is this hiring manager from this name organization, like this is why they're difficult. But you can say to the AI, you are difficult to work with OR nurse manager. Here's the reasons why you're difficult to work with. Here's the past interactions. Here's some of the issues that we've had in the past. Tell me what sort of candidates you really want and tell me how I can best work with you. You can run a candidate's profile by it. So again, don't upload that candidate's personal information, but tell it like, here's the candidate, here's the experience, here's what job they're applying for. Tell me what you think about them. And because that AI should know really what the hiring manager's personality is all about, they should be able to come back to you and say, here's why I'm interested in this person, here's why I'm not interested in this person, here's what you could improve about them. And don't let this stop you submitting that candidate if you think they're a good candidate. The point of this is that before you submit that candidate, you've developed the best, most relevant, engaging profile, which is customized for that hiring manager's likes and dislikes. And that's what really this is all about. I think you can utilize this to get ahead of the competition by customizing your content to make it more relevant to the audience that you're trying to engage. And I think that's a very specific overarching use case beyond engaging a software that say they have an AI component, and then once you're using it, it's not really coming in to solve a problem. The AI, as I mentioned at the start, should be matched to problems in your organization. So to recap, here's 5 ways that you can use it to understand the competition in yourself, attract talent by creating more content on LinkedIn, attracting talent by writing more specific ads, creating action plans for long-term open positions, engaging people by making web pages for particular jobs or particular candidates, and then simulating conversations with hiring managers so that you know before you submit a candidate how you can better kind of craft and adjust, modify that profile for the manager. So what are the next steps? Well, you can rewatch this. You can try some of the tools, try Lovable, try generative AI advice that I've shown you. And you can also join the new community that we're creating. So I'm going to just share this with you before you all go, because we're quite excited about this. And I think that it will be beneficial to your recruitment process. And if you're feeling like you need a community, you need more people that can chip into what you're doing, or you just need access to more training and upskilling, you want to tackle your own recruiting crisis, you want to engage your team, you want your team to be better at recruiting, we have created a community. It's called Nurse Recruitment Secrets, and I want to invite you to join. So I'm going to put the link into the chat, and if you are listening on the podcast, you can just catch this link afterwards in the show notes. And what we're doing here is bringing together professionals in healthcare recruitment, and we're going to be showing you all the best tips and practices based on our over 100 interviews that we've done, and over 15,000 nurses that we've sourced and hired, over $2 million we've spent on ads. The community is free to join at the moment. All you need to do is click the link, make a profile, and you're in. We have a discussion area where you can talk to colleagues and share issues. Your competitors aren't in there yet because nobody's in there, but if you do see a competitor in there, then you don't have to ask something if you don't want to. And in learning, you can see that we have some courses. So we're releasing a more developed AI for nurse recruitment course, bringing in the experts in the field to teach you how to do it. And then we also have a course here where we have about 30 videos on nurse recruitment secrets compiled over 5 years on best practices, including sourcing nurses with texts, engaging hiring managers, and getting the most out of Indeed. So I'd love for you to join me in here. Get the link in the chat or the show notes, and we'll see you there. If we don't see you there, no problem. We'll see you on the next webinar, and thank you for joining. Hope you have a great weekend, and goodbye.